Hi, I'm Phil Richards. Today we're at the Juno Lighting Group Remote Idea Lab Studios. We're going to talk about the installation of the Aculux 2-inch LED adjustable housing for new construction. One of the first things that you notice about this product is the appearance. The housing, which is all black, helps to conceal it when it's installed in open joist type construction that you see in some of your clubs where the ductwork and the electric and everything that you see when you look up is all painted black, so it helps blend in. And of course, the inside of the aperture, which I'll show you in just a second. The other thing is, of course, this blue plastic cover for the aperture. You can see this one is square. Product is available in a square and a round, but we're going to focus on the square today because the square has a couple more features than the round that make it very easy to align. That blue plastic cover is actually a paint shield and depth gauge, which I'm going to show you how to use later, to make sure that the plaster frame from that fixture comes perfectly level with the drywall, whether you're using it for a self-flanged type of a trim installation or a completely flush mount above the ceiling trim installation. I'm going to remove that now so that you can see the inside of the works. And what you're actually seeing right now is our Accu-aim precision gear-driven adjustment mechanism. There's actually two screws in here. One of them controls the vertical adjustment of the optical element, and the other is the horizontal. And I'm just going to spin that around for you to show you how that works. I'm going to rotate my screwdriver clockwise. And what that's going to do is take that LED and accompanying optical element to angle that up. So instead of aiming at 0 degrees straight down, I can angle that at 30 degrees or up to 40 degrees. The other screw is my rotation. Okay, so as I spin this counterclockwise, the aperture and the mechanism inside begins to spin counterclockwise. And again, opposite direction, clockwise, I'll be spinning in the other direction. You can also see that the inside of the aperture is painted completely black, and that is to obscure what little you may see if you look up past the trim inside of the fixture. So taking a little bit more of a theatrical approach to lighting, this product is all about the illuminance of the intended object and removing the source of light at its origin. Along with that vertical adjustment, just to make sure that we get it nice and precise, there's a miniature protractor inside of that aperture. Let's say that you are going to be installing a row of 5 of these adjustable recesses down a hallway, all lighting paintings, and you want those fixtures to be aligned all at 30 degrees. You can set them up to have that same exact 30-degree aiming angle before they're even installed. And when they're nailed up or installed, they'll all be aiming exactly as they should be. Those are the adjustments for aiming the fixture. Now let's look at the alignment adjustments. Rounds are perfectly symmetrical. And of course, we don't need to be doing circumferential adjustments on the round because they're symmetrical. But squares are a little different, so we allow for an additional adjustment. I'll take my trusty Phillips screwdriver here, and I can grab that aperture. I've got 3 adjustments here. I can grab that square aperture, and I can rotate that. Maybe you'd like to do something a little bit different. Instead of having all the square sides line up, you want to go with a point-by-point diamond configuration on your installation. Or maybe you're going down a hallway and you've got a straight row and you come out and all of a sudden you take a little bit of a curve and then go right back in. So this is calibrated at 5-degree increments so that that square aperture, along with that whole true line precision geared adjustment mechanism, is rotating with that. So I'm going to just set that back to 0 and lock it in because the installation that we'll be doing here will just be 2 fixtures lined up straight, and I'll fasten it down. Now, of course, we know that we can adjust the position of the housing relative to the bar hangers. So as I move that housing back and forth on the bar hangers, right, I can adjust it parallel with the bar hangers. What if I want to move it perpendicular to the bar hangers, I have a special true-line platform adjustment mechanism, and I'm going to grab that one screw there with my Phillips, and you can see that in addition to being able to adjust parallel to the bar hangers, I can actually move that housing a ½ an inch to the left or to the right to further lock in that nice, tight, precise, corner-to-corner, down-the-row installation that I'm really looking for when I use squares. Okay, so along with those adjustments, we're going to talk about how all the adjustments on the bar hangers. And of course, as I said earlier, you can move the housing parallel with the bar hangers. Bar hangers have other features as well, and you can see that there's a little foot on the bottom of that bar hanger, and that's so that when you lift it up to nail it to the joists, that provides a stop, so you know the exact vertical height of the housing. Now, if you happen to be in a more commercial type installation or maybe a basement remodel where you've got tile, that little foot may interfere with the insertion of the adjacent tile, and so we made that perforated so you can grab that with a pair of pliers and wiggle it a few times and it'll just snap off. Of course, there's our typical Juno brand bugle-headed nail, which allows you to pull that nail out with a claw hammer and maybe move the housing over a couple inches if you need to, and then hammer them back in. You've also got a pretty good mechanism here for mounting to tile. So you've got a T-bar clip on here, which can be tightened by putting a flat-headed screwdriver right into that slot. And there's another slot over here, and you can kind of wedge those over and it'll grab right onto that T-bar and hold it in place. And you can see, if you could handle this product, you could see these bar hangers are very, very rigid, heavy duty to accommodate the weight of a housing with the hardware and the driver inside. Bar hangers are removable. They're breakable, so I can get this housing into a space that's 9 5/8 inches wide. Of course, once I get that housing aligned on the bar hangers exactly the way I want it, I can take my screwdriver and go in and lock that down so it doesn't move around and it stays put exactly where I want it. One of the other things you see on the housing are what we call butterfly bar hangers. In our more commercial type installations, typically what we'll use would be ½ inch conduit, a flat bar hanger, a C-channel type bar hanger, and you can see that bar hanger is actually adjustable with that butterfly. We're not going to be using those this time, but understand that that will give you a little bit more versatility with your vertical adjustment. And by the way, your plaster frame and the way the product is made, if you mount this using the tools that we've given you, for instance, that foot and the butterfly bar hanger, that will make that plaster frame, you can see my square plaster frame here, come in perfect alignment and require no additional adapters for a typical drywall ceiling that's between ½ and ¾ inches deep. If you should have a ceiling that's deeper than that, we do make thick ceiling adapters. I'm going to flip that over. One of the things that you can see here written on the little sticker is that it says approved for spray foam insulation. Okay, so we've been getting requests from folks about spray foam insulation for a while. This product is rated for direct contact with spray foam insulation, in addition to your typical insulation rated ceiling. So that's it for the mounting and adjustment features. Let's take a look at how the product is wired. There are actually 3 entry or access points into the housing. I can open up the top completely, have full access from the very top with this knurled nut, which is very convenient if you're on a tile ceiling. You can actually get up above the tile and look right into it and see what's going on. I also have a panel on the bottom that can be removed with these 3 screws so that you can actually get 2 hands into the housing at once to access your wiring. Naturally, this is before you put your drywall up, but you've got an extra handhold there that you can remove and then replace. And then lastly, of course, your non-junction box. Okay, so this entire housing really serves as the junction box for the product. So I'm going to loosen these two brass knurled nuts and grab that little tab and pull it out and remove it like a keyhole. You can see my ground connection is connected to that door and my black and white quick connect terminals inside of that enclosure. I'm going to replace my cover now, going over those knurled brass keyholes. Push that down, tighten them up, and you can see that there are two knockouts here, so that I can daisy chain with a power input feed and then continue on to an additional fixture with the two knockouts provided. And these half-inch knockouts are compatible with half-inch thin wall, armored cable, or Romex. So we're ready to install now. I'm going to remove the butterfly brackets with the wing nuts. Just spin them off, just to get those out of the way in case they interfere with any of our adjustments. Let's turn our laser on for mounting. You can see that our first housing over to my left has already been installed and aligned properly. So what remains to be done now is for the second fixture to be installed, and then we'll do the fine adjustments to get this one properly aligned with our first one. So you can see I'm pushing that foot up all the way against that joist. I'll hammer the 4 nails in. So let's adjust it on the bar hanger. I'm going to grab my housing and just pull it so that I can see that laser line connect straight across those notches. I'm going to tighten my bar hangers with the locking screw just to make sure it stays where I put it. Next, I'll make my true line platform adjustment. This is the translating movement that allows us to adjust the location of the housing perpendicular to the bar hangers. And I've got a 1/2 inch left or right flexibility there. I'm going to get that lined up just perfect. Tighten that down one more time. And then lastly, if we needed to, we could actually do a rotation, actually up to 45 degrees if we needed to. But again, sometimes our joists aren't perfectly aligned and we just need a degree or so. I'm tightening the screws back up. Okay, our adjustments are now complete and we're ready to wire. So we've already installed and aligned our product. Our house electrician has brought in our supply wire and turned the power off at the circuit breaker box. So now we're ready to wire. So I'm going to remove that junction box cover. And again, we have 3 access points here on the housing. This is one. We can access through the very top of the housing, and I can remove that plate from the bottom. I think I'll remove that plate from the bottom as well. I'm removing the 3 screws that hold that access plate in place. And I'm going to step over to my bench here and knock out my knockouts. In this case, we need both of the knockouts on that J-box door taken out because we've got one for power feed in and the second one to bring power into the adjacent box. So I've got my knockouts removed from my side access panel. The next thing I'm going to do is take my armored cable and of course feed it through those knockouts. And here you can see I have quite a bit of wire coming out of that armored cable body there. And we need a minimum of 13 inches for that. The reason for that is after the fixture is installed in drywall, the only way that we can access the interior of this housing is through that small square aperture. In order to reach the wires, perhaps rewire a driver or check our wiring is through that. So we need to be able to get those wires all the way from our entry point, which is here, down through that aperture so that we can wire in midair with 2 hands. So I'm going to feed that first one through and spin the lock nut on from the other side. Let's connect our second wire that provides the power to our next fixture down the line. I'm going to feed those wires through that side access port, entry port,
and hook that J-box cover right onto those brass knurled nuts, tighten them down. And you can see I have all the room in the world here with the wires hanging down below the ceiling. I can do all of this in midair. These are my two black and white power feeds that are inside of the fixture. And these are all quick connects. I'm going to pop a couple of those little levers, open up the connector, insert black number 1 into the black quick connect, my second black. I'm going to connect my white to the white quick connect inside the housing. Here's the second one. And then lastly, we'll connect the two grounds to the ground quick connect. So I'm going to tuck all of those wires back up into the housing, push them over to the side right near that access door on the side panel to prevent any interference with the rotation mechanism that's inside of the fixture. Next, I'm going to replace our bottom panel with the 3 screws. And as a reminder, if you're planning on dimming this product, check our website for compatible dimmers. So at this time, we would need to hang the drywall, tape it, and paint it. But for demonstration purposes, these steps have already been done. So let's take a walk over here to a finished installation. And what you can see here is our blue paint shield leveling guide. And there are 2 different levels to it. You can see this level that's been painted would come flush to the ceiling if we were using a trimless application. This is a self-flanged application, so I'm going to bring this blue part all the way down level with the drywall. With the round fixture, the set screws that raise and lower the plaster frame relative to the drywall are actually embedded in that ring. They're small set screws that are raised and lowered with an Allen key wrench that is included with the product in the box. Okay, so at this point, let's remove the leveling guide. You can see there's a nice clean interior there, all black. And let's restore our power back at the circuit breaker box. So let's aim the fixture. When I turn the vertical adjustment clockwise, that allows me to adjust the aiming angle of the LED anywhere from 0 to 40 degrees. If you look carefully, what you'll see inside is a little protractor so that that housing can be set for a specific aiming angle. When I go to the adjacent screw, and I spin it counterclockwise, you can see that now I'm actually rotating that entire mechanism to my right. And that's all part of the Accu-aim precision geared mechanism. Notice also that my hand never actually touches the fixture. That Phillips screwdriver goes up and does all the work. I never have to touch a hot fixture or a hot light source. Okay, so let's install our trim. I'm just going to align these little tabs with the slots in the housing. Push that up, and there you have it. That's the installation of our Aculux 2-inch LED new construction housing. I'm Phil Richards for Juno Lighting Group. And remember, it's all in the lighting.